Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on Oweleketv. My name is JIBRIN, and this is my angle. Barrister, let me play this video, then we'll take it up from there. Sorry, I think I didn't introduce viewers. This is Barrister Austin Manta. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, for those of you who are return viewers. Obviously, you know who Barrister Manta is, so it doesn't need an introduction. Barrister, thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, let me play this video, then we can talk about it thereafter.
The governor of Osun State, Ademola Adeleke, on Tuesday granted pardon to Oweleketv Segun, who was sentenced to death by hanging for stealing a fowl and eggs when he was 17 years old. Social media was awash with reactions after a video surfaced online showing Segun's parents narrating the story of their son. The mother said her son was said to have broken into the house of a police officer in April 2010 and carted away some of his belongings. He was subsequently charged with conspiracy and robbery and was sentenced to death. Governor Adeleke, upon receiving the news, granted the pardon in a statement shared on X. Let's read Adeleke's tweet there. He wrote, "I have received the report of a case of a young man reportedly sentenced to death by hanging in Osun State for stealing a fowl. Consequently, I have directed the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Osun State, to commence full investigation into the matter and initiate process to grant prerogative of mercy to the young man. Osun is a land of justice and equity and must ensure fairness and protection of the sanctity of lives. I assure members of the public that this matter is receiving my direct attention with every sense of urgency also attached to our response to this matter." Dr. Abati, when I saw this...
All right. Barrister, I hope, did you hear everything there on the clip?
Yes, I have read the report before now.
Okay, good. Thank God, because I didn't even inform you about this topic, so I'm glad you have you've read the report. Look, I don't get it. Can you make sense out of this for me? For not just for me, for Nigerians, for God's sake, because people want to make sense that someone who stole chicken, for God's sake, stole chicken. Let's just even forget about what he stole. Just a thief was a thief, not an armed thief. A thief, a common thief, was sentenced to death for stealing. Barrister, and was not only sentenced to death. The person we are talking about have already spent about 14 years. Let's even assume, if not the issue, if not the Nigerian way of executing or of implementing death sentences, because I think I've been made to understand that there are people on the death row that have been in jail, in prison for so many years. I don't even know why it's like that. If they sentence someone to death, I don't know why they are waiting to kill the person or whatever. So if not this issue of this laxity, the laxity of implementing court judgments with regard to death sentence, this poor boy would have lost his life. What kind of, Barrister, can you make sense out of it? What this actually is far beyond mere corruption. This is wickedness. Barrister, what is your thought concerning this?
When I first read the story online, I tried to make sense of it myself, but I realized that this was a politician presenting an issue to the public. I think in doing that, they oversimplified the matter to such an extent that the public will be wondering, just like you are wondering. But when you look at it from a deeper perspective, you will understand that the matter was not as simple as it should be. Now, no court has the right to sentence a person to death for mere theft. It's not the punishment in Nigerian legal system for a death sentence to be imposed on a thief. But if you steal in the course of committing an armed robbery, that is a different thing. What you stole, no matter how small it is, it becomes inconsequential. It is the robbery that you have committed that is the main case before the court. I learned that the guy was charged for robbery. And the robbery is that he attacked a house and stole some things. Now, make the difference. It's not as if you went quietly and stole something, but if you come with arms and you hold people hostage and carry out a theft, no matter how small the item of theft is, the matter transcends from theft to robbery. And then you will not be charged simply for theft. You will be charged for robbery, and the punishment for robbery is different from the punishment for theft. So if it was a mere case of robbery, I can assure you there's no way, if it was a mere case of theft, I can assure you that there's no way that he would have been sentenced to death. Even if he did, an appeal court, and there are so many NGOs who are visiting prisons and taking up issues of indigent convicts. They take it up and go to court. Even the Legal Aid Council and other they take it up and appeal. If it was a mere case of theft on which he was sentenced to death, definitely an appeal court would have, a high court or court of appeal or eventually Supreme Court would have struck down the conviction and set him free.
So are you telling me that the man was actually charged for robbery? Is it armed robbery? Yes, of course. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is what I believe. Because will hear that robbery being mentioned. So robbery is different from theft. Robbery has to be with arms.
So why did the governor project a kind of a false narrative?
That's why I'm saying, I told you that he is a politician. He's presenting something to the public. So he has oversimplified something that is much more delicate than that to justify the action he took. It is clearly, if I were charged and convicted and sentenced to death for mere theft, I will not even accept a pardon. I will ensure that an appeal court set aside the conviction as a whole, so that there will be nothing like conviction hanging on me. Even if you are pardoned, people know, yes, you committed the offense, and you.
But my point is, first, how come they actually won that case on robbery? Because we had the parents now. What the parents confirmed that this guy just stole chicken. And how come? I don't understand. Obviously, just like you mentioned, even if they don't have money for lawyer, we have government lawyers. They could have defended him. How come they succeeded?
There are a lot of NGOs going to prison to listen to indigent people and take up their cases. Even for getting senior advocate, you have to do cases we call pro bono, free of charge. When you apply for a senior advocate, you have to show the kind of free cases. These are the type of cases that lawyers take up to make up their requirement.
My point is, if this guy had lawyers, how come the lawyers, the victim of the theft, actually defeated these lawyers in court, and the judge, to the extent that the judge actually passed a ruling of death sentence.
Precisely.
That means
That is why.
because if like you said, if this man actually the judge ruled on death sentence on this case with death sentence, it obviously means that the lawyers, the victim's lawyers, the victim in this case, the police that was robbed, the police officer that was robbed, it means that the lawyers, his own team, actually presented a convincing evidence or convincing evidences.
That is precisely what I'm telling you, that he was not charged for mere theft. For mere theft, the maximum punishment is 3 years in prison.
Okay, let's even assume. Hold on. Sorry to cut you short. Now, let's even assume he was charged for robbery. Robbery, no one was shot, no one was injured, no one was killed. But at what point, even in robbery, at what point can a judge pass a death sentence to a robber, even if the robber was truly armed to the teeth, but there was no casualty? Is it still lawful for a judge to pass death sentence to such robber?
Yes, some of the sentences. Remember, we had military decrees during the military government.
Yes,
that were assimilated into our criminal laws, that have been carried over into our criminal laws. And during that time, they used to pass decrees prescribing death sentence for armed robbery and a whole host of other things. Presently, for instance, death sentence is prescribed in some states for kidnapping. So if you are charged to court and kidnapping is proved, the judge's hand is more or less tied. He must give you the sentence that the law prescribes. There are sentences that the judge's hand is tied. He cannot reduce it. If, for instance,
are you telling me that actually the case that warranted death sentence on this man, on this boy, was actually proved? The crime, rather, the crime against this boy was actually proved by is that what you are saying? To the extent that this judge, look, I am still finding it difficult to believe that.
Let me be very clear. From my experience and from my knowledge of the way the legal system works, if he was sentenced for an offense that was merely theft, he would not have stood. When you are talking of 14 years, he would not have stood for several reasons. Like I said, apart from civil rights and NGOs visiting prison, listening to each individual prisoner, convict, his story, to try to see what they can do, the chief judges of the state with the magistrates, they have a day that they visit the prisons, they visit the police stations to listen to cases of people who are either detained or who are convicted. And they, based on what they hear, they call for the files of those cases. And sometimes the chief judge, on his own, he has power to release some of those people from prison. So a period of 14 years, I can bet you that all this group may have visited repeatedly. So my take is that he was properly convicted for an armed robbery offense convicted for an armed robbery offense and properly sentenced in accordance with the law.
Wow.
Maybe that is why he had to stay in prison for long.
No, but
when you
Barrister,
I'm coming. With benefit of hindsight, when you begin to ask what did the man gain from the robbery, then they say, oh, chicken. Then it becomes very, very, very funny and strange. If somebody were to hear it, that you went with arms to somebody's house and stole only a chicken or ended up going away with a chicken, it will look very funny and strange. But that is what we are hearing.
Yeah, but my point is why I'm not finding it difficult to go with your own assumption. Is because we have journalists all over this news. Like as you noted, as you noticed, the video I played was actually a video from Arise News, so Arise TV rather. And with Ruby Agbati was on set there, and Ruby Agbati, is a very senior journalist. I don't get it, because if the story is let's even assume what you said is the truth, how come journalists didn't dig out this fact? Because they are actually flowing with the governor's what the governor say projected to the public, and that is just it.
Yes, I can tell you that they, just like you said, they flowed with what the governor said. This is what is called armchair journalism. I would have expected them to dig further, to even go to the court and try to get the records to ascertain exactly what the man was charged and the nature of evidence that was produced. And that's why they are here to talk to the public. They have not contributed any additional knowledge to the public than what the governor said. I expected them to dig, go to the court, get the records of the court, find out what was the man actually charged with, what was the nature of the evidence that was presented to the court, and come back and tell the public this is what actually happened. They didn't do that. They just took what the governor said and presented it to the public. That is the kind of laziness that we have among some journalists in Nigeria. Sorry to say that.
All right. Anyway, I actually made a monologue because when I had that, I was busy doing something very, very important. I was working on some construction drawing actually when I watched somebody sent it to me. I was so furious. I said, "What is this?" So I made a monologue of this, and on that monologue, in fact, I don't know. I blamed the judge. I blamed the lawyers. I blamed everybody. I blamed even some of the lawyers you just mentioned, because I just felt that a case like this, it must have filtered into so many years, sort of. So for them to allow it to this boy to just suffer for 14 good years, and even stood the risk of losing his life, was just honestly. Anyway, I just hope you are right. Otherwise, that would be very, very bad stuff. I don't know. I don't know who to believe. Even you yourself, what you just say, what you say was just based on as legal assumption. That's just it.
Let me add that if the journalists had done their work, investigative journalism, one way or another, the whole thing would have burst. If it was true that he was actually charged and convicted for theft alone, the judge and the prosecution would have been exposed, and we would be fighting for them to be punished. In fact, they would have published their name, because that is not the sentence for theft. That sentence is not a sentence for theft. Any judge that does that will be in jeopardy. He will be a punishment has to be meted for a judge who grants that kind of sentence for theft. So if a journalist had gone and done their proper investigation and confirmed that, oh, it was just a theft of a fowl that this man was charged with and convicted for theft, all the country would now be shouting,
My own problem now.
Deal with the judge.
Yeah, but you see, this whole thing is just I'm still not getting sense out of it, or rather making sense out of it, because a whole governor, for God's sake, because obviously governor must have seen the facts of the case. You must have seen the record of the ruling. For him to, if the record is different from what he projected to the public, I doubt. I honestly, that would be very, very embarrassing. Honestly, because
Let me correct you there.
yes,
The governor, I don't know which one came first. He said he has directed the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice to investigate, and at the same time he talked of pardon. The investigation by the Attorney General should come first before the pardon. Now, we have, both at the federal level and at the state level, committees of prerogative of mercy. These committees prepare memorandums to the governors and to the president for pardon of people. Now, when they prepare that memorandum, is a summary. It does not bring the whole thing to the attention of the executive, maybe the governor or the president. Even a person properly convicted can still be pardoned based on certain parameters. So when they prepare a memorandum, they send their memorandum to the governor, recommending the pardon of social person. In this case, what the governor is saying is that it has come to his attention, to his knowledge, maybe people talking about it, maybe he read it somewhere, that a person was convicted and sentenced to death for theft of a fowl. So he directed the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice to look into it with a view to pardoning the person. I think it's an evolving situation.
okay. Let me see. I look, the news is the governor already granted pardon. That's the news.
Then what is he directing the Attorney General and the Commissioner of Justice for?
Hold on. Let's hear this again.
On Tuesday, pardon to Oweleketv, who was sentenced to death by hanging.
You had it. Already granted pardon.
Go on.
Yes. Okay. Hold on. Let me even play it so that we read what the governor wrote on his X page.
The governor of Osun State, Oweleketv, on Tuesday granted pardon to Oweleketv, who was sentenced to death by hanging for stealing a fowl and eggs when he was 17 years old. Social media was awash with reactions after a video surfaced online showing Segun's parents narrating the story of their son. The mother said her son was said to have broken into the house of a police officer in April 2010 and carted away some of his belongings. He was subsequently charged with conspiracy and robbery and was sentenced to death. Governor Oweleketv, upon receiving the news, granted the pardon in a statement shared on X. Let's read Oweleket's tweet there. He wrote, "I have received the report of a case of a young man reportedly sentenced to death by hanging in Osun State for stealing a fowl. Consequently, I have directed the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Osun State, to commence full investigation into the matter and initiate process to grant prerogative of mercy to the young man. Osun is a land of justice and equity and must ensure fairness and protection of the sensitive."
Okay, yes, Barrister, I think now the news is conflicting. Yes, I can see. Correct, but I can read it. This, what we are reading now on the screen, is actually in conflict with the news itself. That's the point. Okay, so now, but if that is the case, why will the governor even verbally grant a pardon without even seeing, taking a look at the case, the details of the case? Because it obviously means that this same pardon, if he verbally said it, if he's after seeing the real evidence, he could actually take back that pardon, right? The cart before the horse. All right. Yeah, that's the point. Oof. All right. All right. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for that. As we come to the end of this segment, viewers, you've been watching Barrister Austin Manta, and I hope you have been educated on, or by being educated or enlightened on the matter we just talked about. I don't know if probably some of you heard about or watched the news or heard about the news. So you've had it. I think I don't know if at this point I will consider myself to have been wrong on my monologue or whatever. I don't know, because I felt bad about it. I just felt, since the news was actually the news came through a reputable media organization, I felt that was the right thing. But again, honestly, if it is not, if the news is just as, if the case is as Barrister Manta legally assumed it is, yet we got a different thing from the media that is supposed to be the watchdog of things like this. That would be a shame and an embarrassment to the media, honestly. So sad. Anyway, Barrister, thank you so very much again for joining us.